to the radio Wasteland. Hello, my darling. Oh, hello from the radio Wasteland. Hello, my darling.
All right, and welcome back to Radio Wasteland, best in paranormal talk radio. I'm your host, Chauncey Howard. This is my co-host, Kara Kittrick.
Hello.
Kara, what kind of news is coming out of the Wasteland today?
2 feet high and rising.
Well, we've got more climate change news. Floods driven by record rainfall in Germany and Bavaria have killed at least 188 people at last count, prompting German Prime Minister Angela Merkel to make climate change a larger priority. Quote, "I say this as a German, the idea that you could possibly die from weather is completely alien," one climate scientist said.
I didn't know that floods in Europe were just sort of really kind of unheard of, or
Well, at least in Germany, I think, Southern Europe is a lot different than sort of mid-East Europe where Germany and Bavaria are. So
yeah, I guess if you think about it, they're in the band. That would be the northern parts of the United States that really don't deal with floods like the southern parts do.
Exactly.
But yeah, in the news, they're basically talking about that this is going on all over Europe. So
yeah, I think the big ones are, or maybe it's just reported on more in Germany because it's so weird there to have these kinds of events. But anyway, 200 people died.
it's
So
cool.
yeah.
It always weirds me out when these sorts of things happen, right after we made up global warming. It's what kind of weird coincidence is that?
Well, you see, Chauncey, it's because of the geoengineering that we're doing in order to, strengthen public belief in global warming in order to, impose communism on good, God-fearing truck owners.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, see, it's
Is that
very
what-
nefarious.
Is that what people really think, or did you just come up with this?
We've had guests on who think that. Well, a guest.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I don't know. The whole idea of global warming really just bothers me. It bothers me for two reasons, and I know the people who don't believe out there are going to be like, whatever, this guy's talking this crap again. But for one, it's scientists. It's you go to the doctor to cure your cancer. If the doctor can't cure your cancer, that's when you start rolling around in ginkgo biloba and stuff. You don't do it the other way around. You go to the scientist first, and when the scientist doesn't have it figured out, that's when you start getting all freaky. But people just right out of the gates were just all, nope, science is lame.
Yeah.
But a scientist is no different than your doctor. It's just a different doctor. It's a doctor of something different.
I think the people we're talking about don't trust their doctors either, so that may not be the best comparison. These are the guys who won't get vaccines, so.
Okay. Well, then I'll just say one more time and then we can move on. The knowledge that this world has to offer, one person is not capable of having all of it.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, as a society, through capitalism, let's just say totally through capitalism, through survival of the fittest and people creating inventions in order to fix future situations and get paid for it, people have to compartmentalize knowledge. That's the way that it works. That's the way every society works. I don't care if you're capitalism or communism, whatever the hell you are, that's the way it works. There's no other way for it to work. That's why the old shaman was the shaman. He had that knowledge and these other guys didn't. But this guy over here, that guy could hunt like a bandit. It's just the way society works. If you don't embrace it, society don't work.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I agree with you. Although I will say it's interesting you mentioned that historically, because on the subject of science, there was a period of time, let's say I would say, 1600s, 1700s, 1800s, where it was basically possible if you're like the idle rich, you're some nobleman, to understand basically everything there was to know about science.
Yeah.
And I think this whole Renaissance man idea, it emerged at like the same idea of at the same time as, the American Revolution and all this sort of Calvinist, just individualistic philosophy. I think we're still really informed by that. And, people still really have this. I've seen people who are, just the crankiest of cranks, who describe themselves as Renaissance men. It's like, I read all the studies, I do all my own work. And it's like, okay, that's why you sound like an idiot, because you're not very good at it. So,
but also,
but people still believe in this idea. They want to be Renaissance men, and it's just not possible anymore. You got to specialize.
Well, let me throw this out there for the Renaissance man that is refusing to believe in any sort of science or doctors.
Right. Unless they came up with it.
Historically, two of the biggest Renaissance men, I bet you, would basically say, yeah, I know nowhere near all of it. And I agree with you saying. One man would have the ability to have a grasp on all the world sciences. But
yeah, well, who are you talking about?
Benjamin Franklin, Leonardo da Vinci, even these guys, I think, would basically say, oh no, I tied the key to the kite because I didn't know what the hell was going on.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, they were curious guys. And I only say, like, they probably understood, like, essentially the sum of the world's knowledge, because at that time, the sum of the world's knowledge was pretty pathetic, scientifically speaking.
There are germs and the sun is on fire.
Oh, they didn't know about germs. They didn't know about germs until God, when was it? I want to say, like, the middle of the 1800s.
Yeah, no, No, Franklin knew about germs. They were washing their hands at that point in operations, weren't they?
I don't think so, because weren't Victorian era hospitals like notoriously, like, you had and Civil War amputations, like, no one washed their hands. You had a horrible chance of dying from infection, I think.
Okay, the sun's on fire.
The sun is on. Well,
that's the grasp of the earth sciences.
they would have understood that, although in the medieval era they would not have known that the sun was on fire. They would have said, what is the sun? Well, it's a big blob of perfect it's a big, not luminiferous ether, but just heavenly material, and it's perfectly spherical, and it's made of just perfect divine energy. They wouldn't have said it's a big fireball.
And it's our God, and it demands a sacrifice.
Well, that part is true, but
the most sinister sounding intros to a trailer to one of the
COVID deaths are once again overwhelming hospitals in the US, but only in counties with particularly low vaccination rates. Of the 25 counties in the US with the biggest increase in COVID infections, all but one had vaccination rates of less than 40%. Meanwhile, COVID is quickly becoming a disease of the third world as the situation worsens in developing countries that can't get access to shots or to the techniques used to make vaccines, which are the intellectual property of various corporations.
What is he looking for? We're looking for a guy that's been peddling dope to school kids.
This is, I watch the news every day, and are close to it. And I see this going on, and I see the vaccinations, and I can't tell if COVID is going up entirely because people aren't getting vaccinations, or if these variants have something to do with it.
Yeah, it's hard to say.
I mean, I know they're more virulent, so I know that has something to do with it, but I don't know if it has, like, if it's more able to get you with the vaccine.
It is worth mentioning that infections have gone up everywhere, but they've gone up by a much larger amount in places where the vaccination rates are very low.
I'm a little unnerved by the rampant crack pottery that's going on in this world on both sides. All this time I've been sitting here. So, before Trump got elected, I was one of those people who felt like racism was on the decline. And that we were in the home stretch and things were getting really good, and
like
I
an
don't know. I
idiot.
came out of Reading. I
Yeah,
I
same.
watch TV.
No, I thought that too. I thought that
you
too.
know, and then all this stuff goes on, and I'm like, holy smokes, I am like out of touch, And so up until just about now, this specific moment, I've been thinking that the crackpots on the left and the crackpots on the right were like just a very, very vocal minority.
Sure.
But if you overlay a map of Democrats, Republicans, whatever, onto a map of the vaccinations and stuff, you definitely see that there are party lines there. Now, I'm not looking to get into that argument, but you can do that with a lot of things. You can do that with religion. You can do it with like phone usage. You can do it with like, pot legalization, gay weddings, all this stuff. And it is just, for me to see it so cut and dry, like hardcore, it makes me think we're all crackpots. You're a crackpot. I'm a crackpot. They're crackpots. Apparently, we're all just crackpots.
I would call that a radical interpretation of the data.
Well, let's say you're on a boat with 10 other people, 9 other people, and the boat is going to sink and you have to get the water out, and half of you think you should use a bucket, and the other half think you should use a hose for siphoning, but you do neither because you can't decide between the two of you. You're both crackpots. You're stupid, 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 stupid. You're all going to die.
Yeah, but that is not the situation here. The situation is half the people are getting into lifeboats and half the people are throwing a party.
No. But as an adult, let's say that's the case. Okay, this half says do this or we're all going to die, and this half says we're not going to do that. As a parent who knows that the ship has to stay afloat regardless, you have to say, okay, well then what will you do? And they say, well, we'll do this. And you say, okay, well, let's work together to get that done. Compromise, regardless of who's right. Who's right is irrelevant. The way compromise works is by compromising. I get you. And I agree that what your right is right with me as well. But do you want to die right? Or do you want to live to be right another day?
Well, I say save yourself. You don't need the people who are wrong.
That doesn't work this way, man. We need to vaccinate these other countries. We need to get together and vaccinate.
Oh, well, I definitely agree we need to vaccinate other countries.
That's where these variants are going to come from. They're not going to come from Nevada.
Yeah, but see, here's the thing. Like, the variants, like you said, are coming from other countries. Other countries aren't full of anti-vaxxers. We're full of anti-vaxxers. Other countries aren't getting vaccinated because, we want to help them get the shots. And,
I'm not talking about one issue. I'm talking about all the issues on the whole. Basically, if we don't make any changes, society falls. That's what happens.
No, I mean, I agree with that, but I think, I don't know. I just don't think there is a reasonable compromise on a lot of issues. I think one person says vaccines are necessary and everyone needs them. One person says vaccines are literally poison. What's the compromise? You take half a vaccine? How do you even begin with that? It's impossible.
I don't know. You start. I don't know. That was a terrible joke. I was going to say you start squirting it in the Walmart mac and cheese, and then it takes care of itself. All right, I'm terrible. But the people on the right are doing the same thing. They're doing the same thing. We're all just doing the same thing. We're just being jerks.
Yeah,
I'm a jerk. I'm a terrible jerk and a crackpot.
That's true. I think the same behavior is okay in one circumstance and wrong in another circumstance, depending on, whether you're right or not, like that's what it all just comes back to. What are the actual facts,
Right.
And there's no way to get around it. There's no way to be sensitive to everyone's feelings because some people are wrong.
Well, then I will ask this of every adult out there, and that is same thing you would ask your kids. Do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? and they're all going to say, well, we're not going to do this, and that'll make us happy. It's not about, I don't know. Forget it.
Max Headroom. So,
And in just a few months, there have been 2 reported Bigfoot sightings just a few miles away from each other in Ashland County, Ohio. One was spotted in the woods near a rural home, another near a 24-hour gym in town. One Bigfoot expert consulted said these sightings raised, quote, far more green flags than red ones, and emphasized the close proximity of both sightings to the Mohican Memorial State Forest, a massive wood spanning 4,500 acres of wilderness. Back to you, Chauncey.
In this film, you will meet Jane Bradford.
Matter, got a headache?
She's a young and innocent cocktail waitress.
Let's talk about monkeys, that's nice. Let's talk
Every
about
time I hear about
monkeys.
Bigfoot in Ohio, I think, man, how'd he get there? If Bigfoot is supposedly so prevalent out here in the West Coast, I always wonder how they get over there,
Yeah. Maybe it's just a Forrest Gump situation. They're just constantly back and forth.
You think they're
Either
migrating?
ocean.
Side to side migration?
I don't know. Maybe. I mean, I don't really believe in Bigfoot. But
yeah. Well, I personally I don't particularly believe in Bigfoot, but I also don't necessarily disbelieve. But I mean, if it came down to a decide, I would probably have to go with no, because
I think that's where I am. I'm a no, but like I can't explain what all these eyewitnesses are seeing, right? Like it doesn't make sense to me, but a lot of people see Bigfoot, so something's happening.
To be fair, we know some, or at least I know some.
Yeah, we do, and we've talked to a whole bunch.
Yeah, but I mean, I personally know some.
Right.
A good friend of mine I used to work with said he was driving down the freeway and looked over on the side of the road through the woods and everything and saw basically a huge monkey figure running along with his car at like 40 miles an hour. And it's like, I don't know, but for lack of a better explanation, I saw Bigfoot.
Yeah, and I'm not going to be like, yeah, that guy's a liar. They're all liars. But that doesn't make any sense. That makes even less sense than Bigfoot, right? That doesn't track at all with my understanding of like how people are.
Yeah, that's one thing that a lot of people say about a lot of things, is that people have these sort of massive evil motives, and,
right.
With the internet and with YouTube and people's ability to make money off of YouTube, I think maybe there is more negative motive out there now than there used to be. But even now, I don't think that there's
right. Doing a whole hoax like that, it takes a lot of effort, and like if you're trying to monetize it, like most people aren't doing that. And if you're just the type of person who tells tall tales, whatever, just for the heck of it, like people probably know that about you. So It's like that. I think most of us know someone who's like reputable, who's seen Bigfoot or seen a ghost or whatever, and like it doesn't mean those things are real, but it does mean they saw something, right?
Right. Yeah.
So,
but in the last segment, I did just say that we're all crackpots, so maybe
we are all crackpots. So who knows?
All right, tonight on Radio Wasteland, we have, who we have, Kara?
I don't know anything.
Angry Catfish Briggs.
Oh, well, finally.
So stick around. I'd tell you what it's all about, but if the name Angry Catfish Briggs doesn't sell it to you, you got the wrong show.
Wait, please. A few days ago, a man was brought to us in a very bad condition.
All right, welcome back to Radio Wasteland. Tonight's guest is Angry Catfish Briggs. And, I would tell you exactly what this show is going to be about, but I put a couple of hours into researching this, and it's still pretty hard for me to wrap my brain around. Not hard for me to wrap my brain around, like, understanding, but to relay it back in words is beyond my capabilities at the moment. So a lot of what we're talking about here is ISWA. Now, the ISWA, I'd never even really heard this term until a friend of ours who's been on the show, Samuel Hoffman, some of his fans started bringing it up and then suggesting that to you. So what is the ISWA?
ISWA, it's satellites in space with magnetometers on them, basically watching our magnetosphere.
Mm-hmm. And so this is all public knowledge. This is coming down. I mean, you guys are obviously in your videos, a lot of the time you guys are actually watching the data coming from this.
Yeah, it's a NASA satellites. I mean, I know NASA never a straight answer, but if you watch their monitors, you can get a pretty good idea.
Now that really is the question. You know, what is the good idea? Is it that there's another body out there?
Quite a few.
Quite a few. So is this Nibiru? So in the discussion, you know, I was reading about it. There's the term Leviathans being thrown around. I don't know if that's a biblical connection there or what, but are these separate bodies?
They're huge planets, very huge. You can actually see them at night really well. A lot of people are pointing to the sun. If you go out at night and start looking out up at your north, you're going to see the entire star field's gone. And look a little closer, you'll see the massive circumference in between us and those stars. They've been pushing us along for going on 2 years now, get closer and closer. A magnet, when it comes close to another magnet, they close their field lines, start pushing against each other. That's what we're seeing every day in ISWA. There's only one reason for a magnet to close its field line. There's another magnet in its proximity. And we're seeing it every day, and it's getting more and more pronounced. I've been calling out quakes since 2012 on Facebook, teaching people how to do it, because there's a pattern. There's a physical object causing these bigger quakes. On both my channels, I got Catfish's Corner and Angry Catfish. I've got 2 channels. There's thousands of quakes that I'll hit on the exact minute, exact magnitude, exact placing on the planet using ISWA. And there's people like Ben Davidson that'll tell you it's an inaccurate model, and I've proven beyond the shadow of a doubt this thing is very accurate. It's a magnetometer. It's like looking at a ferrocell in space. It gives you a very accurate reading of what's going on.
So the reason why this is triggering geological events here is because the magnetic pull is like pulling maybe on the iron core or something like that.
We're actually on our side. I don't know if you've noticed or not, but you've got a moon that's rising like a little frown. It rolls 180 degrees, and on the other side of the planet, it's set like a little grin. That is a wax and a wane every night from your porch. Really? You should never see that.
Yeah, no, I have to tell you, I am be sure to explain all of this to me like I'm 5, because you know, I really came into this, put a couple hours into it, and I'm really kind of confused on it. Okay, so you're saying that when we see the moon, it's either rotating or we are.
Well, we are.
We are.
You can't roll the shadow on a ball by rolling the ball.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, the shadow's moving too. That's us.
Got you. And that's the pull of these planets. Now, are you familiar with Samuel Hoffman? Because that's kind of how
I know Sammy. Sam and I used to deal with each other on Facebook. Look, last time he talked to me, he was yelling at me, telling me I was scaring people unnecessarily because the system was on its way out. And obviously it wasn't. But obviously it wasn't. It's still on its way in.
Okay, so these are 2 branches of the same concept. That's what I was
and there's a little more than what Sam thinks is coming. There's actually 2 suns with several planets. One of them is a blue spectrum, ultraviolet, black light sun. The other one is a very big red sun. Their names are Ra and Horus, the red and blue Kachinas. I've already been to the Hopi, to 6 tribes down to the Navajo, leaving Oregon coast because of visions of drowning, and verified that the Hopi actually are Hebrew Muslim descendants of Cain, and they've been guarding this for centuries.
So is this is always something that, you know, conspiratory or hidden knowledge always comes to mind for me. Is this something that the government knows? Is this something that the world knows that
Partially,
we're told, or are they figuring it out at this point too?
their own cuneiform says that they had no idea what we were drawing on the walls. They said they had no idea what we were carving on the walls. We had no spoken language, but we drew ornate pictures. And they assumed the identities of those in our pantheon to hide us from ourselves. In other words, Marduk became Ra. Ninzagita, his brother, became Thoth. And they tried to hide us from ourselves. Ra is a sun. Thoth is a huge planet. I don't know if we called them Ra and Thoth back then. We didn't speak. But they gave us these languages, the Anunnaki, Inky and Enlil. I'm sure you've heard of them.
Yeah.
Well, they're all over the world. Everybody talks about them, how they drug the moon here, which correlates with the cuneiform, where we got trapped in a void and stuck here. We've changed suns. We used to be with the blue sun. That's why you have its magnet signature right smack dab in the middle of your head. It's an ultraviolet sensitive organ hooked up to your eyes in the shape of magnetic signature of Ra. Well, that's your biology screaming. We came from that sun in the first place. We were originally designed on that sun. And we've got it pushing us back now.
I took the lead.
Now to Pope Francis and that planned intestinal surgery. Here's a live look right now.
I guess what I'm trying to get at is, you know, with the government and the powers that be, and something that we're saying is so incredibly obvious, yet not obvious. It's like
it's terribly obvious.
Well, I'm saying, is this being hidden from us, from people who know, or do the powers that be not know either?
Let me put it this way. I don't know if you heard this or not, but I was Senator Jim Davis, Republican, North Carolina's top investigator for several years. His hemp bill, my work, caused hemp production in the United States. My first works for him were unanimous, the first ever unanimous decision still standing today in North Carolina. The entire legislature voted against the federally implemented core curriculum for schools because I was an angry parent writing a letter to the management, compared the side-by-side curriculums, and it literally became the first ever, and today the only ever, unanimous decision in their entire legislature history. I've set precedents in that state, and I stood down because for 3.5 years I had done research on the moon and making sure that I was accurate, because I was working for a senator and I'm a full custody dad. I was afraid the man would think I was insane and take away my baby. When I reported to him, I was interrupted by his sister, Kay Davis, his personal assistant, and informed about red dwarf G19, how they are certain it's not global warming, it is solar warming. We're all heating up, and they expect 3/4 dead. They proceeded to tell me about a lockdown and keeping everybody distracted while they're running disaster preparedness specials, commercials, and setting up your demise. I called out the COVID lockdown the day it locked down, months before it happened. I told you, not you, I told people the reason we had to is because we were running out of grain. You know, the GMO crops engineered, it takes one candle light to kill the damn things, just at night. Well, you're casting shadows every night, man. It's not a hacker. The corn died at 1.5 feet tall from Denver to
And
China.
this is all because the planets are there.
And this other sun. They
Gotcha.
see UV, we don't. That's what's so bright at night. It's like a black light. You walk up on a black light and you can't even see if it's lit till the lights in the disco club go out.
Right. So why
That's the dark star.
why hide it from us?
7 billion people knew we were out of food globally. How long you think?
No, I get that. No, I get that part. That part makes total sense. Why hide that? Yeah, I mean, you got to keep you. But I mean, if the powers that be, governments, NASA, stuff like that, if they know, why hide it? Why hide it in the first place?
It's worse than that. It's not just that they're hiding it; they're engineering your death. GMO crops failed. The perennial crops didn't. They've known this has been coming since before they wrote the Bible.
But that's what I'm saying. Why hide it?
Keep us under control.
If they knew it was coming so long ago.
To keep us under control. They've done this how many cycles now? I don't know. I'm sitting here looking at quite a few.
Okay, well then I guess what I need to ask is, because I'm thinking like, why would the government hide this? But I think you're talking
180 nations are under 180 nations are under the same government. NWO.
That's what I'm getting at here.
A long time ago.
Who is
Crown
the
Vatican,
they then?
Crown Vatican DC Corporation, established 1871.
Gotcha.
Whoever gets their money from that UK central bank is controlled by the same people. China, Russia, us, Venezuela, everybody. Who gets their money printed by that UK central bank? Everybody. Who went under lockdown for the common cold? Everybody. 180 nations went under lockdown for common cold.
Right. Well, I guess what I'm trying to get at is, on these other planets, are there critters? Are there people that we should fear?
No. You should never fear anything, but we can get to that.
Right. But I'm just trying to understand why keep it from us. Right. Why keep it from us if it's not harmful to us?
It's very harmful to us. Have you ever read the Tablets of Thoth?
No, I haven't.
Okay. Everybody thinks they're all esoteric learnings. If you listen to it, they talk about a big electromagnetic machine that they put deep in the crust that recycles men's souls. They judge over our souls. Creator judges our souls. Creator's had enough of this shit. This is the reset. All three suns are coming together to sing a chord. They've never come together in all the time that I've been watching us document these things on the walls of Giza. When the boats come in with the little god in front of them and the people in the boats, those are the planets that came back with that sun. And if you look at it in Peru, they got little things, people in the shape of boats, and then people standing on the backs of them with the little king in the front. Same fucking correlation, man. Every one of them. Sometimes they change boats. We're fixing to change boats because we got our sun and the red sun. Here we are in the blue sun. You don't want to be there. You're going to get dusted. We need to fall back behind the blue sun. It's our only viable option at this point to survive perihelion.
So is switching suns basically like the planet being passed to another power, one that's not quite as benign as the current one?
This blue sun is Earth's father. Thoth is her brother. They're loving creatures. Our hierarchy runs sun, planet, children. Creator runs it all on the Birkeland current. The sun catches the energy off the Birkeland current, distributes it to the planets distribute it to us. You and I in these little skin suits couldn't handle Creator's energy.
So is it that he's a mean father, or that
no,
just a powerful father?
Very powerful.
Okay.
Running a whole, eternally growing universe. That's a lot of power.
So how do we back off?
You've got a magnet in your chest. Did you know that?
No.
I didn't either for 50 years. Biologically, medically, we have an electromagnetic field around us about 8 foot. It's a very strong field. You can actually feel it. And I never knew that until a few weeks ago. I was accidentally felt it. You bring your palms together like this, and you're going to start feeling a little bit of heat and a little bit of pull right in front of your chest. And then you pull it away and you can feel it all the way through your hands. I've had people tell me they've been playing with that since they were kids. I just found it a couple of weeks ago, and they wrote about it on the walls.
I took the lead.
Ho, 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 Katie. You've been naughty, but Cole's been canceled. So here's the Snyder cut of Cats.
They gave us this frequency. A lot of this, what we're looking at is frequency, like frequency plates with sand on them. 1748 hertz, for example. In this first Stella I ever read, right in the middle, 1748 hertz. I had no idea what the hell they were trying to tell us. So 1748 hertz, human biology, came up with, boom. All of a sudden I'm sitting there looking at, every time you get goosebumps, it's 1748 hertz. When you get goosebumps a lot, you start producing stem cells because you're excited about life, right? You're excited about something. Well, that's your electromagnetic frequency. All magnets, sitting there doing studies, all magnets exhibit the same pattern. It's on that 1748 hertz metal plate. And it also turns out to be on the back of all the movie screens. Could I share a screen with you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Show you what I'm talking
I don't
about.
think I'm set to do that, but let's make us set to do that. Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Oops, shoot. There's 1748 hertz with full torque. This is what every magnet under a millimeter of water looks like. Same pattern in the very center of the hieroglyph, 1748 hertz. And here it is on a metal plate today. 1748 hertz.
I see. So you're talking about sand with a magnet underneath and the vibrations and the shapes that it creates.
Yeah.
I see.
And this would be the conical hat, ball, dingly cobra, familiar eye, IMF lines being interplanetary magnetic field lines. They, by definition, are not Earth's. And you can see where it blew out our this is Earth. Usually your magnetosphere is flowing back in here. This blew out the magnetosphere and planted a magnet signature right behind us. This is IR spectrum court empirical evidence. It does not lens flare.
Okay, so this is a picture that I was looking at earlier, the one with the eye of Ra in the magnetic, in the ISWA data.
This is his staff.
But and I was thinking when I was looking at it, I'm just all, well, what would the purpose be? Because I definitely see what you're talking about. And I was thinking, what would the purpose be to draw a picture with massive astronomical magnetics?
Like this?
So it's like it's coming out of the range of scientific and going into the range of spiritual?
It proves omnipresence. 1748 hertz inside of every atom.
Gotcha.
That's the electromagnetic field. We found perpetual energy, literally. I've got working models all over the place and perpetual motion through the same electromagnetic field. We could change the world. This is Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Saturn, Jupiter, Neptune. These are Horus's, the red suns, planets, Yes, Nebaru's in there. It's for magnet signatures. This right here, funny enough, we found Ra in Peru. Here, this has a short end and a long end to his tunic. It's all crosshatched. This is his pants in Peru. It's kind of funny because that's his magnetosphere. See the short end, then there's a classic dot, and then the long end. This started showing up about 2013, 2014 in a UV sensor. They've since shut down. At night, this is a midnight shot. And we tracked this thing for years. And this is a classic magnetosphere coming out of the UV sensor in Alaska that was designed to study auroras. And it picked up magnetospheres too.
So, whether or not these are the actual Egyptian gods or took the representation of them, what do they want?
Well, from what I can tell, Ra wants Mama back. We're going back to the blue sun. Funny enough, that's kind of.
But you were saying that we need to back off on that. I mean, how would we even stop that?
Oh, no. We need to go fall back onto him.
Oh,
is what I'm saying. Because we've got two suns in front of us. Here we are, and here's the third. So we're in between. They start throwing plasma, we're screwed. We need to be behind the biggest thing in the solar system. And at that point, that's going to be the blue sun.
I see. When they come together, it's going to cause an astronomical event that if we're not behind that we need to be back there. That's why we're being put back there, is to protect us from this astronomical event.
Yes.
Gotcha.
So what's sort of the time frame on all of this?
Well, interesting enough, cuneiform states, and when the sister system nears, causes Earth's axis to shift, making the sky roll, beginning tribulations on Earth. Come to find out, it's about 10 years, 5 months for tribulation. We're in 10 years and 6 months. It began in October 2010. Moon doing cartwheels every night. And nobody's noticed. Well, thousands have.
So we're there?
We're there. We're at the end of tribulations. It's been 10 years and 6 months since I first noticed the moon was doing cartwheels. Absolutely. October 2010, it began.
So, I mean, that seems...
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I mean, I guess traditionally what people think of when they think of tribulation is like, the time immediately preceding the apocalypse. So it sounds like you're saying it's all over any day now.
We're pretty fucking close. Yes. To the great and terrible day of the Lord, or the blue Kachina revealing itself, whichever way you want to look at it. It's the same event. The skies are going to roll back, and we're going to see these behemoths around us.
I took the lead.